Hi YouTube, this is Darkon633 and we're taking a look at another Power Rangers review. This time we're going to take a look at the Power Rangers 6-inch Legacy line, starting with the Power Rangers Ninja Storm 6-inch figures. Now I'm actually not going to be collecting this entire line, and I'm only going to be collecting the seasons that I really care for. Ninja Storm is actually a really awesome season. I'm happy to actually have fully articulated figures based on the characters. Now this is the first time Bandai of America has released a full-on collector's line in the larger scale figures with a ton of articulation points, and at the same time a lot less bulky designs compared to a lot of the other Power Rangers figures we've gotten in the past. However, they do maintain some bulkiness, but that's to be expected in the way that Bandai of America has been producing these figures. These are way past the points where we've gotten the super steroidy kind of designs, and a lot of articulation is still intact in these figures. The boxes are the same and maintained throughout the entire line. However, obviously depending on the season, Ranger, and various other things are the main parts where the boxes differ. This time we're going to first take a look at the Red Ranger's box. On the front it's pretty much the same. It has a picture of the Red Ranger there. Build A Zord, which of course since this season is the Ninja Storm season, we have the Ninja Storm Megazord. On the back it shows how many parts it builds a Megazord. So for this team there's only 3 team members to build the Megazord. The same thing can be seen with the Yellow Ranger. Same thing on the box here. And also the Blue Ranger. Now what's also cool is that each of the boxes, depending on what color the actual team member is, will actually have a different colored lightning featured on the box. For the Red Ranger, we have the red lightning bolt throughout, and I forgot to mention they have the name sketched directly onto the plastic box, so that's really awesome. Obviously for the Yellow Ranger, we have the yellow lightning bolts, and for the Blue Ranger, we have the blue lightning bolts. Anyways, we'll now take a look at each of the individual figures and move on from there. Now we're going to take a look at Shane, the Red Ranger from this season. Most likely the male sculpts will be maintaining the same sculpts throughout the entire Legacy line. So in terms of articulation, obviously with the few differences, depending on maybe they have armor pieces and various things, it's still going to maintain the same amount of articulation throughout the line for all the male figures. Anyways, the male sculpt in the line has 32 points of articulation roughly, so it actually has a high range of movement, and it's by far the best range of movement in any Bandai America action figure in terms of Power Rangers we have gotten. Anyways, the articulation points includes ball joints in the heads, hinges in the necks, ball hinges in the shoulders, swivels at the biceps, double joints in the elbows, swivels at the front part of the glove in the wrist, ball hinges on the wrists specifically, an ab crunch, waist swivel, ball joints in the hips, swivels at the thighs, double joints in the knees, swivels at the top of the boot, ankle joints, and ankle pivots. So each of the figures have a high range of movement, and it easily reflects a very similar style which we've seen with the Hasbro releasing in both the 6-inch Black Series and also the Marvel Legends. The Build-A-Figure part also kind of represents the same thing going on with Marvel Legends. Each of the figures, unfortunately, only includes 2 accessories and the Build A Zord part. It's unfortunate since, at this point in time, it is unknown where the weapons for the main Rangers will be included with, but it's hinted that it's going to be included in a future Ranger or some other way. It's really not known at this time. Anyways, the 2 accessories Shane includes is a fully sheathed sword, which is kind of unfortunate since this is a molded piece, meaning that you cannot actually put the second sword, which is just the main sword that they use in the show, cannot slide into the sheath, which is a big bummer, but it's understandable due to budgetary reasons. It'd be kind of hard to design it just because of size and so on. anyways, you can place the sword really well in his hands, and it actually stays really well. While the sword itself is made of the gummier plastic, which we've seen with Bandai America toys, in terms of actual grip, it's actually by far one of the best I've seen in a Power Rangers toy, and I'm very happy that Bandai America was able to manage that. What's also cool, due to the high round of articulation, you can actually do the full grip on the handle on the back of the sword, which has never been possible in a Bandai America Power Rangers toy before, and I'm very happy that the high range of movement allows you to actually accomplish that. But that's about it in terms of Shane. So now we're going to take a look at Dustin. Now we're going to take a look at Dustin. Dustin has the same articulation points as Shane, but it's still nice to see a fully articulated Ranger outside of the Reds finally in the main Power Rangers toy line. He can carry the sword just like Shane, and it works really nicely, and I think they work really nice together. Just to have a little comparison, we're going to quickly show a comparison between the two male Rangers of the season together here. So here we have Dustin next to Shane. So that's really cool that it seems like Bandai America has made a really good base male mold that's going to work well for most of the Rangers, I think, in my opinion, throughout the line. Now we're going to take a look at Torey, the only female Ranger released so far in the Legacy line up to this point. And now we're going to take a look at Torey. Now, unlike the male sculpt, the female sculpt has roughly 27 points of articulation, with a few points actually not featured on the female sculpt so far. The head is the same amount of articulation which we've seen on the male Rangers, with a little bit more movement in my opinion, I think, for her head. She has ball hinges in the shoulders, just like the males, swivels at the biceps, but unfortunately she only has a single elbow joint, unlike the males. She has the same wrist swivel up in the upper part of the glove, and also bottom here as well for the ball hinged wrists. She doesn't have the typical ab crunch we've seen, since it actually is a full-on waist joint instead of the standard ab crunch plus waist joint combination we've seen with the males. But because of that, she has a little bit more movement, and it's a little bit more because of that. Now, she also has outward hip movement, but due to the nature of the really hard plastic skirt, unfortunately you can't really go that far. She has swivels at the thighs, double joints in the knees, swivels at the boot, and ankle joints with pivots. So other than that, it's pretty much a high range of movement, and Bandai America did a fantastic job even just designing the female sculpt in general, and I can't wait to see what else they have in store. Now we're actually going to be looking at the main feature and selling point of the Legacy toy line so far. And now we're going to take a look at the Ninja Storm Megazord. The Ninja Storm Megazord is made out of 3 components in the show, which was the Shark Sword, the Lion Sword, and the Hawk Sword. Now, unlike the deluxe version, you cannot split this into their individual components due to the fact the Lion cannot form the full Lion body, since it's now formed the legs, and there's no way to combine it. However, in the main body though, it actually looks really nice, and it's pretty screen accurate in the way how the suit fully moves. Now, articulation wise, it's not as articulated as the Rangers, however it makes sense since the bulky suit doesn't really allow the actors to move as fluently as if you're just wearing a standard Sentai or Power Ranger suit. But anyways, we'll now take a look at the articulation. The articulation includes ball joints at the shoulders, a single joint in the elbows on both sides, ball joints in the head, which is really tight here, no waist articulation, ball joints in the hips, and ball joints in the knees, and ball joints in the ankles. Now, unfortunately, I did need to use some nail polish in order to make sure that the knees could stay really well. Otherwise, it's kind of a floppy mess. So you do need to possibly work on a little bit in order to keep the ball joints from going all over the place. But it's really nice for what it needs to do. How the Zords were set up for the releases is that the Shark Sword and one of the legs was included with the Blue Ranger, or Torey. The Yellow Lion and the leg was included with the Yellow Ranger, also known as Dustin. And the main body, including the Hawk, was included with Shane, the Red Ranger. So it was really easy to set up for this team. Although it's going to be interesting what to see with the other teams. Already being seen with MMPR Red having the main component, and obviously the rest of the components being included with their respective Rangers. So I think it's going to be pretty cool for what we'll see in the future. So my final thoughts is that these figures are some of the best we've seen, if not the best we've seen in Bandai of America's offerings up to this date, and I cannot wait to see the other Rangers get released in 6-inch form. As I mentioned earlier, I'm only collecting the seasons that I enjoyed, but I'm still most likely going to enjoy the figures what we get up to this point. It'll be really nice for the Power Rangers fandom to see all the Rangers released one day. I highly recommend picking this up, and it's only been spotted at Targets and I think at Walmart's. That one I'm not sure, but other than that, these figures are retailing for $20, so it's the same price range as Marvel Legends, and hopefully this line will last really well, since these first offerings are already really high in quality. Anyways, please comment, subscribe, and check out Hero Taku and Hero Club. Also, please check me on Twitter under Darkon633, and please check down the other channels down below. I'll be back with more Power Rangers reviews in the future, but for now, I'll be signing you. Bye.